You don't have to live in fear anymore. The call and the consultation are free.
Are you on Medicaid and in need of bladder control and incontinence products? Then stay tuned for a free offer from Active Style. At Active Style, we understand your needs and offer convenient home delivery of incontinence products for children and adults. And they may be available at no cost to you if you're Medicaid eligible. Our products have a super absorbent core that locks away wetness to keep you dry.
If you're on Medicaid, call now for your free sample.
Broadcasting from Now Media Network's headquarters in Houston, this is Purple Politics, hosted by political expert and commentator Alina Gonzalez-Dockery. Join us to discuss the most important issues affecting our nation with fresh, balanced, and objective discussion on the first bilingual media network in the United States. Purple Politics starts right now.
Good evening. As we begin another episode of Purple Politics, we at Now Media want to extend our love, prayers, and thoughts to all of the residents and citizens that are being affected by Hurricane Helene. Never have we seen such destruction from a hurricane in the mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee. A week ago, Hurricane Helene made landfall in Florida, thrashing Gulf Coast cities and pushing inland, with millions of people bracing for its impacts. Despite warnings, early signs were less severe in some southeastern areas, with roads and power still intact. However, as the storm advanced, the devastation unfolded quickly. In Asheville, North Carolina, and surrounding regions such as Banner Elk and Boone, North Carolina, towns like Chimney Rock were heavily damaged and some wiped off the face of this earth. Loss of homes, bridges, and the infrastructure, leaving residents and local officials grappling with the scale of the destruction. As of a week later, Helene has claimed 202 lives across 6 states, making it the deadliest hurricane to hit U.S. mainland since Hurricane Katrina. The storm's impact left communities in disbelief as they faced the massive task of recovery. Survivors began supporting one another with food, water, and basic supplies, though many areas still lack power and accessible roads. In North Carolina, 940,000 people remain without power, and vast portions of the energy grid need rebuilding. Relief efforts have intensified, with local volunteers, federal aid, and military support arriving in hard-hit areas. President Biden deployed troops to assist in recovery, while organizations like World Central Kitchen have provided essential meals to isolated communities. Despite early progress, local leaders like Mayor Zeb Smathers of Canton expect the recovery to last for many years, given the extent of the damage. Efforts to restore communication and critical services are ongoing, but thanks to Elon Musk, Starlink has been deployed in many of the areas of North Carolina and Tennessee. FEMA has deployed over 3,500 personnel and is working with technology providers like Starlink to bring internet. The road to full recovery is expected to be long, with critical infrastructure such as water and power likely to take weeks, if not months, to restore. The resiliency of the impacted communities is evident, but the path ahead is challenging. And let's face it, I mean, we are blessed here in Florida. I live in Southwest Florida. We have seen the devastation of what storm surge does to communities because of Fort Myers Beach and Sanibel and Captiva. And some of these very same areas were caught up in the storm surge. And we are now seeing in Florida, along the West Coast, the devastation of Hurricane Helene, because she was such a huge storm, 400 miles wide, upwards of 700 to 900 miles long. It is unforeseen. And like Governor DeSantis stated, we are on the road to recovery. The Big Bend area has been devastated. Last year, they were devastated by Hurricane Idalia. But here in Florida, we're also already sending search and rescue teams up to North Carolina, up to Tennessee with helicopters and such to help with the aid and devastation in these states, in these mountain communities that, to me, I'm still aghast at how some people would criticize mountain communities, saying, why weren't you better prepared? Hurricanes don't go up in the mountains, people. They just don't. We have never seen storms like this in over 100 years go up and affect the mountains. Mountains, yes. Blizzards, yes, they are all over it. They understand what to do with it. But a hurricane, that is unforeseen. And in this aftermath of Hurricane Helene, Kimberly Moody, a resident of Black Mountain, North Carolina, reflects on the lack of evacuation orders despite the severity of the storm. While warnings advised residents to stay indoors, there was no call to leave, a decision that may have cost lives. Miss Moody's friend tragically drowned in the Swannanoa River, highlighting the devastation that caught many off guard. Like Moody, other residents are now questioning whether more could have been done to save lives, particularly through evacuation efforts. Across the Southeast, officials and residents are grappling with the unprecedented destruction caused by Helene. The storm, which made landfall in the Big Bend, Florida coast, caused more than 200 deaths across the 6 states, with inland areas like Western North Carolina being particularly hard hit. Many were unprepared for the severe flooding, high winds, and destruction far from the coast, an issue that experts say is becoming more common as climate change intensifies storms. There is now a growing recognition that inland regions require the same attention as coastal areas in storm preparedness and evacuation planning. Also, Hurricane Helene has shined a very bright light on the infrastructure and how poor it is, with dams bursting, which is causing even more of this destruction, as we're seeing in Tennessee and also in areas of Western North Carolina. Though local authorities did issue warnings ahead of the storm, challenges like mountainous terrain and outdated communication systems hindered some residents' ability to receive alerts. Emergency protocols put in place after previous storms did help to some extent, with officials in Haywood County taking extra measures such as in-person outreach. However, new safety tools like flood warning sirens were not yet installed, which could have further reduced fatalities. The storm exposed gaps in preparedness, particularly in rural and remote areas. Despite these warnings, many residents choose not to evacuate. In towns like Canton and Black Mountain, locals felt that staying home was safer than risking a drive on narrow, dangerous roads. Some residents could not afford to leave or had jobs they couldn't abandon, even when evacuation orders were given in some counties, such as Buncombe. Many hesitated. Officials and experts now acknowledge that clear, strong messages about the risks, even inland, may have helped prevent some of these deaths. The storm has left a lasting impact on the regions, with local leaders vowing to improve their emergency systems. As Zeb Smathers, mayor of Canton, remarked, the inland areas of Western North Carolina are now part of Hurricane Alley. Residents like Bill McGuire, who moved from New Orleans to escape hurricanes, are realizing that storms can strike anywhere. Moving forward, both locals and officials say they will take future warnings more seriously, knowing that storms like Helene can bring devastation far beyond the coast. And as we're dealing with the devastation, we are also reeling with the fact that Mayorkas, the head of FEMA, is stating that funding shortfalls for the rest of hurricane season, despite a $20 billion being in this emergency funding to go towards Homeland Security and FEMA, more specifically for FEMA. Mayorkas is already stating that though there are some funds currently for this hurricane, that there's not sufficient for hurricane season, which is still not going to end until latter part of November. This is absolutely astonishing to me because you have to look, why is it that citizens whose tax dollars go pay into this? I will go on a rant for this. This is absolutely deplorable and disgusting that this administration, the Biden administration, the Biden-Harris administration, because they say everything is together, saying that FEMA doesn't have enough money. They just had an emergency CR go through Congress with $20 billion going there, but yet there's still not enough money to help the citizens, the residents of the United States. And why is that? It's not going to be in this report. But the reality is because much of FEMA's, which is supposed to be Federal Emergency Management Association, those funds are supposed to go to federal emergencies such as Hurricane Helene, emergencies such as we're seeing in North Carolina's devastation, Tennessee's devastation, the Big Bend of Florida's devastation. What we have seen, and it was a mockery for what we saw in Hawaii after those devastating things, $750 per family member. Some people in Big Bend are reporting that they're already being told that because they had already received funding from FEMA because of Idalia, that hit them Category 5, that hit Big Bend, Florida. Category 5 last year, that some saying that they may not be eligible. And why is that? Oh, because $778 million was provided as emergency assistance for undocumented migrants that have been flooding the nation through the open borders through this administration. I'm calling it as it is. That is not common sense. And Biden is seeking for Congress to come back to have even more emergency funding because of this. Yes, we need funding. We need to be helping our fellow citizens, our fellow residents of these devastated communities. But what really is more remarkable, and what you, me, and everybody should be calling out, and why I started this show, Purple Politics, is demand common sense, demand accountability, demand an audit. Where the hell is our taxpayer money going? Federal emergency management funds are specifically supposed to be earmarked for federal emergencies to help the citizens and residents of these United States when dealing with emergencies such as this. And I live in Florida, and I have been I've been in the front line of Hurricane Irma and Hurricane Ian. And I can tell you, it is scary. And but what I have seen occur in North Carolina, Tennessee has been absolutely astonishing. And for President Biden basically to tell the United States, hey, Americans, you need to raise funds to help your fellow Americans out of this. Of course, we're going to do it because we've always done that, because it goes beyond politics. But what it also is what the hell is our government doing? Because Congress is not a good steward with our money, and our bureaucracies are obviously not being good stewards with our money. Because when you have federal emergency funds dissipated because they are not able to account for our dollars, it is time to stand up and say, we want an accounting. We want common sense in government. Because nobody should be saying, I'm going to give you $750 and good luck, pat on the back. I'm Alina Gonzalez-Dockery. I am impassioned about this. We're going to take a quick breather, commercial break, and then we'll jump into other news. Thank you.
If you've turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to, so make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you. Call 800-749-7781. That's 800-749-7781. Call now.
If you're on supplemental oxygen, heavy and awkward tanks can be a burden. Now you can leave home and leave the tanks behind with Inogen, portable oxygen therapy that moves with you.
With my Inogen, now I'm able to do the things that I've always loved. I just press the button here, and there's my oxygen.
Inogen systems are so small and light, you're free to leave the house without the hassles of an oxygen tank.
I could play golf again. I could go grocery shopping. I'm free again.
With the Inogen, I can handle my own oxygen. I can carry my own oxygen. I go anywhere with this. Look how small it is.
And right now, you can try an Inogen portable oxygen system for 30 days risk-free. Call us right now. If you qualify, we'll send you an Inogen system to use for 30 days risk-free. Your insurance may even cover your new Inogen system.
If you're on oxygen, you need to be using an Inogen.
Call 800-367-1753. That's 800-367-1753.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now.
Call 855-993-2096 right now. That's 855-993-2096.
For those of you who do wish to donate, I know that I have and family members have, and there are several states that have set up disaster relief funds that will affect those that are for aid affected by Hurricane Helene in their specific areas. Governor Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, has activated the Florida Disaster Fund to support residents impacted by the storm. That fund helps provide resources for recovery after emergencies and or disasters, and it will be earmarked specifically for Florida. You can go to our website. We will be also sharing these websites where you can go. North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper launched the North Carolina Disaster Relief Fund, managed by the United Way of North Carolina, to provide grants to nonprofits assisting victims with essentials like food and water. Additionally, donations can be made to the North Carolina Voluntary Organizations Active in Disaster, which coordinates relief efforts through vetted organizations. Georgia has also experienced significant damage and fatalities. The nonprofit Send Relief has deployed resources to areas with the greatest need, is working with national partners to provide coordinated help. And in Tennessee, the United Way of West Tennessee accepting donations for disaster relief, which will be distributed to local United Ways in areas hit hardest by the hurricane, including the East Tennessee Highlands, Unicoi, and Greene counties. Please give, because regardless of my rant, where we're asking where is our government funding going, it is a time that one thing is the blessings of the United States of America is we do unite when disaster hits, and we do donate. And these are 4 states that have been stricken by this hurricane, and these are 4 dedicated sites where you can donate, where your dollar will go the furthest for what area you wish to provide for. And now the Israeli war continues, and it's for its survival against the terrorism of Iran. Iran is exposed to Israeli counterattack after blows against its allies. Iran's proxies, Hezbollah and Hamas, have been severely weakened after Israel targeted and killed their leaders, Hassan Nasrallah of Hezbollah and Ismail Haniyeh of Hamas. These losses have compromised Iran's deterrence strategy, which relied on these militant groups to dissuade Israel from striking Iran directly. Following these events, Iran retaliated with a significant ballistic missile attack on Israel, 200 ballistic missiles, marking one of the largest such barrages in history. This escalation has led to further tensions, with Israel promising a strong response. The weakening of Hezbollah and Hamas presents Israel with an unprecedented opportunity as their reduced capacities leave Iran vulnerable. Israel's nearly year-long military campaign in Gaza has devastated Hamas, while Hezbollah is struggling with after Israel strikes, decimating its leadership and weapon stockpiles. As both groups falter, the situation exposes Iran to potential direct strikes from Israel, particularly targeting its nuclear program or other key infrastructures. Israel's response to Iran's missile barrage remains uncertain, though there is significant pressure from some political figures to use this moment to launch a devastating blow to Iran. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has stated that Iran will pay for its actions, but has not clarified whether the retaliation will include an attack on Iran's nuclear sites. Iran, for its part, is also vulnerable, as its air defenses are outdated, and it lacks the industrial capacity to sustain a prolonged missile battle against Israel. While Israel is expected to retaliate, the outcome may remain within certain limits, with both sides attempting to avoid a full-scale war. Iran faces a tough choice: continue escalating or absorb Israel's response. To avoid a confrontation it is unlikely to win. Despite the growing pressure to capitalize on Iran's vulnerability, experts warn that overreach could lead to unintended consequences, comparing the situation to previous conflicts in the region. The Israeli strike in Beirut killed 7 as troops fight in southern Lebanon. Israel has expanded evacuation warnings to over 20 towns in Lebanon, signaling that the ongoing conflict with Hezbollah may soon intensify. Overnight airstrikes in Beirut, the closest to the city's downtown district, killed 7 health and rescue workers and targeted a building associated with Hezbollah. Israeli military operations have displaced over 1.2 million Lebanese and killed nearly 2,000 people, most of these casualties occurring in the past 2 weeks. At the same time, we have to recognize that Israeli citizens that live in northern Israel have now been evacuated and displaced as well. Hundreds of thousands of Israeli citizens have also been displaced due to Hezbollah's continuing missile strikes against northern Israel since October 7th, since that fateful attack almost 1 year. Well, 3 years from today, we will be celebrating that horrible terrorist attack, which started the war, a war begun by Hamas, a war encouraged by Iran, a war that is being joined by Hezbollah. Let's not forget who the bad guys are in this fight. This situation has grown more volatile since Israel's airstrike killed Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah last week. Now, in retaliation, as we discussed, Iran launched nearly 200 ballistic missiles. These are not those small little drone attacks or anything. 200 ballistic missiles at Israel, escalating tensions in the region. Iran's UN ambassador defended the missile strike as a proportional response to what he called Israel's continued aggressive attacks. Isn't that funny? How And I'm sorry, I'm still trying to I question UN because United Nations seems to be all about let's support and show, you know, support for Iran and Hezbollah and Hamas, and always degrading and defiling Israel. But they didn't start this attack. The ongoing violence traces its roots to the 1982 Israeli invasion of Lebanon, which led to the formation of Hezbollah, a group Israel and Western states classify as a terrorist organization. The current conflict reignited after Hamas's attack in October 2023. Hezbollah has since been engaged in cross-border attacks in support of Hamas, leading to escalating tensions on multiple fronts. Amid growing fears of a broader conflict, countries are evacuating cities from Lebanon, with Japan and Australia organizing military flights. In Israel, emergency sirens continue to sound as the Jewish holiday of Rosh Hashanah unfolds. While the U.S. has pledged to help Israel defend against Iranian missile attacks, President Biden has clarified that he does not support an Israeli strike on Iran's nuclear facilities. This should not be shocking to anyone. It was Obama and under Obama administration that they allowed Iran to start enriching uranium, supposedly for non-nuclear weapon use. And then again, once Biden became president, he couldn't help but go to Iran and go, okay, you know what? We're going to start releasing funds to you that have been held up under the Trump administration for the continued violations of accords that we have in place and restrictions in place. And all of the experts, even Biden's own experts, are saying that Iran is close to enriching uranium for nuclear weaponry. Let that sink in, because this does not stop. You know, for those of you who say that Israel does not have, a sovereign nation does not have the same rights to defend itself, remember what we did in 9/11. Look what we did. And the world, the mass majority of countries stood beside us as we attacked Afghanistan and then went into Iraq. Whether you agree with the Iraqi war or not. But Afghanistan was a direct result because of the 9/11 attacks on us. Israel is a sovereign nation. Israel has every right to defend herself, and they need defending. Because this continued onslaught from multiple points, it is time for us to all stand and say enough is enough. And if President Biden's going to state that you need to be measured, look in the mirror, President Biden. Perhaps you have also engaged and maybe, not saying prompted it, but you have definitely supported an Iranian terrorist organization to continue. We're going to take a quick break and on to other news.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
If you turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to. So make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you. Call 800-749-7781. That's 800-749-7781. Call now.
How would you like to go on a 5-star vacation for just $99? We're talking about the quality of a Westgate resort for $99. Not for one night, but for 3 fantastic nights at one of their luxurious destinations across the United States. And you'll even get a free $100 Visa gift card just for making a reservation. We've got some of the choicest destinations that you'll love in the United States that you can choose from for just $99 for a 3-night stay. Take your family, take a special loved one, but get away. Go on vacation with Westgate Resorts. Call now to make a reservation for just $99, and you get a free $100 Visa gift card. Call Westgate right now and book your vacation. Here's the number.
Call 877-930-3491. That's 877-930-3491. Again, 877-930-3491.
Bentley drivers of the world unite. Harold Daggett, head of the International Longshoremen's Association, or better known as ILA, has played a central role in disrupting American commerce by leading a strike that shut down East and Gulf Coast ports. Yes, shut down ports from the East and Gulf Coast ports while we are dealing with catastrophic issues in Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. While positioning himself as a champion of the working class, Daggett lives a luxurious lifestyle, earning over $900,000 a year, owning a 76-foot yacht and a Bentley. His union holds considerable power over the ports, with Daggett openly stating his intent to cripple the U.S. economy if his demands are not met. Daggett and the ILA have faced legal scrutiny, with the Justice Department filing civil and criminal charges for alleged conspiracy with mob bosses, although he was acquitted in both cases. The union stronghold on the ports has contributed to inefficiencies, with workers making $39 an hour, often for minimal work. Daggett is demanding wages be increased to $69 an hour, and some longshoremen have reached earnings of over $400,000 with overtime. The union contract guarantees workers significant pay even when they are not working. Despite these controversies, President Biden has shown support for the union, calling on ocean carriers to negotiate fair wages with the workers as they continue to report high profits. Biden's stance aligns with union interests, even as port employers have already offered a 50% wage increase over 6 years. Former President Donald Trump, although similarly supporting workers' wage demands, failed to use the Taft-Hartley Act to intervene in the strike. I'm sorry, that should be former President. That is current President Biden has the ability to use the Taft-Hartley Act to intervene in this strike, which would impose an 80-day cooling off period, especially with us reeling with the effects of Hurricane Helene. This broader issue, as critics argue, is that the union's influence has weakened U.S. shipbuilding and shipping industries, making them globally uncompetitive due to restrictive labor practices. The ILA's hold over the economy is reminiscent of the past power of union leaders, with the 1947 Taft-Hartley Act sought to curb. However, with Biden's support, Daggett appears determined to restore the influence potentially at the expense of economic efficiency and competitiveness. And these striking dock workers are top earners when they work. But again, some of these contracts allow them to collect a paycheck even when they don't work. The ongoing strike by U.S. dock workers demanding a 77% wage increase. I don't get a 77% wage increase. Do you? 70%, despite that, the fact that these employers have already offered 50% over 6 years, highlights stark disparities in pay within the industry. While many dock workers, especially in regions like New York, earn six-figure salaries, others, particularly in less busy ports like Virginia, Florida, and Texas, struggle to make ends meet. These wage demands, while ambitious, are fueled by the perception of unfair pay distribution across the workforce, with many workers claiming they earn far less despite the intense labor involved in unloading and loading massive container ships. The International Longshores Association president, Harold Daggett, justifies the wage hike by pointing to the record profits made by ocean shipping companies, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic. These companies, such as Denmark-based AP Moller Maersk and Switzerland-based Mediterranean Shipping, are among the world's largest shipping lines, earning over $110 billion in 2021. Daggett argues that the dock workers played a critical role in keeping the supply chain moving during the pandemic and deserve compensation that reflects their contribution. Pay scales for dock workers vary widely depending on factors like location, seniority, and skill level. In busy ports like New York and New Jersey, many dock workers earned over $150,000 in 2019 and 2020, with some exceeding $250,000. Meanwhile, on West Coast, longshore workers have a base hourly rate of $52.85, and full-time workers average nearly $233,000 a year. However, in less active ports, many dock workers struggle to make even $70,000 annually, leading to the frustrations and demand for wage increases. Dock workers' earnings can be boosted by working in tough conditions, such as bad weather, nights, weekends, and overtime, or by holding specialized roles like crane operators. These workers often spend long hours on the docks, with shifts sometimes stretching 15 to 20 hours. Despite these challenges, many industry leaders, like former GCT Global Container Terminal CEO Doran Grossman, defend the high wages, stating that the workers' skills and availability drive productivity at the port. But this also makes a bigger question. They're stating that majority of the ships and these profits are to foreign countries and that they should pay. Trump also backs the right for wage owners to be able to negotiate their fees or their rates. That is fair. We want everybody to be fairly compensated. However, at a time such as now, with what we are seeing with Hurricane Helene, with more hurricanes being threatened, and we're still looking at more potentially coming up the same track, the timing could not be worse. The public image, this is a PR potential nightmare. But also, more importantly, this is going to make further those people saying we should be automating. We need more automation on the docks, because with the U.S., our ports are seen as one of the worst in efficiency in the world. And most ports globally are more fully automated. So does this now give more credence to the arguments that these port authorities, these massive companies say, you know what, we're going to start automating more, less resilience on people and more automation? But also, does it beg the question, why the hell isn't Biden stepping in under the Taft Act and saying, you know what, we need 80 days. We have a huge national disaster that we're trying to deal with. We need these ports open, because much of the supplies that we're going to be needed to help not only just Just get these people on a foothold, but the massive rebuilding and everything that we're going to need. But yet, family owners, let's unite. I mean, I watched the interviews of Daggett. I watched how specifically he said, I don't care if the economy comes to a halt. We're doing it. Now, yes, a strike isn't just on a whim. It's not like going down to the store and saying, you know what, do I want steak or chicken tonight? No, this was obviously in motion for a long time. But you know what? Harold has seen, interviews right after the hurricane, and he does not give a bleep. He's there. This is his job. I get it. I also get that his job comes highly paid. But as an American, as someone who is seeing what is happening, the question is it more important to see if we can have the ports open, start using that so that we can get vital resources that we need and products that we need to help restore people's lives and livelihoods and maybe rebuild whole towns that got wiped out. Even Katrina survivors are saying this is worse than Katrina. So like Governor DeSantis stated, this is not a good look. We understand you have every right to negotiate. This is your job. Negotiate for your union members. Negotiate for this. But the bottom line is when you are shutting down 43% of the ports because you have a stranglehold. This union has a stranglehold on the ports. There are no other unions in those ports, by the way, people. Maybe now is not the time. And maybe, just maybe, whoever is pulling the strings for President Biden, even though he says he's in control, then maybe grow a pair, get a pair of timbales, as my mother would say, and enact this so we can have 80 days so that we can ensure that what we need is getting to the people that need it most. And also remember, this has the greatest potential of putting our economy at a stop. And here we were saying, oh, we're getting out of inflation. It's not really that bad. And it might thrust us back in. This doesn't just affect those big carriers making hundreds of billions of dollars of profit. This affects all of us people. We're going to take a quick commercial break and then continue on to what's happening in the campaign and other government news. Hello. What's up?
Investing in real estate doesn't have to be a pipe dream. But how do you find, analyze, renovate, finance investment properties without getting ripped off? My name's Andrew Glisson. In 4 short years, me and my team built a portfolio of 200 rental properties in multiple cities as a hobby while working full-time. We took all of that experience and built a mentorship program called the Victory Strategy to unlock every step of investing in real estate. If that sounds like the opportunity you've been waiting for, look us up at thevictorystrategy.com.
If you're on supplemental oxygen, heavy and awkward tanks can be a burden. Now you can leave home and leave the tanks behind with Inogen, portable oxygen therapy that moves with you.
With my Inogen, now I'm able to do the things that I've always loved. I just press the button here, and there's my oxygen.
Inogen systems are so small and light, you're free to leave the house without the hassles of an oxygen tank.
I could play golf again. I could go grocery shopping. I'm free again.
With the Inogen, I can handle my own oxygen. I can carry my own oxygen. I go anywhere with this. Look how small it is.
And right now, you can try an Inogen portable oxygen system for 30 days risk-free. Call us right now. If you qualify, we'll send you an Inogen system to use for 30 days risk-free. Your insurance may even cover your new Inogen system.
If you're on oxygen, you need to be using an Inogen.
Call 800-367-1753. That's 800-367-1753.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
Just as the recession fears have been easing, U.S. faces economic turbulence. The U.S. economy is facing new challenges, including the tensions in the Middle East, a strike by port workers along the East and Gulf Coast, and the aftermath of a severe hurricane. These crises have emerged just as policymakers were starting to feel confident about controlling inflation without tipping the economy into a recession. Now there are concerns over rising oil prices, supply chain disruptions, and the economic damage from the hurricane, which could exceed $100 billion in the Southeast. That's not far-fetched. Hurricane Ian, FEMA is saying that just in Southwest Florida was $10.2 billion. That was the economic toll just in the Southwest Florida region. Forget all of, Central Florida as well affected by that. The conflict in the Middle East is particularly troubling as it could lead to a significant oil price shock. Economists are watching the situation closely, with oil prices already rising by 7% following recent missile strikes by Iran on Israel. A worst-case scenario could result in oil prices reaching as high as $157 per barrel, which would reignite global inflation. Though some believe Saudi Arabia could increase production to offset any loss in supply, the duration of the conflict will be key to determining the broader economic impact. At the same time, the hurricane has inflicted widespread damage, potentially affecting consumer spending in multiple southeastern states. The storm's economic fallout could cause temporary slowdowns in government revenues, as affected businesses and individuals are given extra time for tax payment. Meanwhile, the ongoing strike by 45,000 port workers is causing concern about further supply chain disruptions as these ports handle a significant portion of U.S. imports and exports. While a short strike may be of little impact, anything beyond a week could lead to manufacturing and retail slowdowns, affecting jobs and production. Domino effect for other industries. Automakers and other industries reliant on imports could face shortages, and the strike could eventually spill over to other U.S. ports. Both the Biden administration and economists are closely monitoring these developments with concerns over the long-term economic and political fallout if these crises persist. And so let's get away from some other things. You have President Biden. He went down to North Carolina. He has initiated another 1,000 U.S. troops to help shore up the National Guard. But one thing's for sure. He's not really looking at, hey, maybe we should step in here and say, time out, guys, we're going to put an 80-day hold. That's on Biden. But it also is not going to look good for Kamala because, let's face it, it has been a Biden-Harris administration, and Kamala supports everything that Biden does. She says they're team members, mano a mano, making all the decisions. This has a potential to be catastrophic for us, but also for her campaign. But speaking of campaigns, we had a vice presidential debate, and I don't know about you, but That debate was exactly how debates are supposed to be. They're not supposed to be this vitriolic, hate spewing, baiting, and non-policy discussions. It was polite. There was decorum, and I disagree with some other commentators that are saying Vance should have come out slugging. No, actually, I thought Vance did it perfectly because it showed, one, Vance is eloquent. He knows the issues. He did an incredible job, but also he showed how he is empathetic. He is sympathetic. I mean, the moment that he turned to Waltz and said, I am so sorry that your son witnessed a shooting of that nature. That was huge. And I mean, and watching the four, Vance, Waltz, and their wives respectively getting together and talking, that is what politics is supposed to be about. It's supposed to show an ability for, even though you may differ in opinions, maybe you come from different political sides, to have a debate that was polite, that was of the policies. It was great. And definitely Vance makes a better case for Trump than Trump. Waltz, even through his stumbling and bumbling, and yes, it showed that his lack of going in front of media, doing the Sunday circuits like Vance has been doing, clearly showed, because Waltz was a deer in the headlights. He fumbled, he bumbled. Yeah, he made, he's an average guy type of guy, but clearly Vance was the winner. And JD, he offered substantive exchange of ideas. That was lacking in both presidential presidential debates. The JD stood out, shedding his more controversial persona in a fair of respectful, well-prepared approach that highlighted the perceived shortcomings of the Kamala Harris administration. This marked contrast to Donald Trump's less effective case against the current administration allowed Vance to present a more measured argument. Tim Waltz, while a likable high school coach, came across as frenetic at times, packed with too many facts and attack lines. He made a strong case for restoring Roe v. Wade. Vance softened the hard edges of the Republican stance on issues like abortion, emphasizing the importance of respecting voters' decisions in democracy. On this, Vance's ability to address complex social issues without appearing rigid gave him the upper hand in the debate. In fact, Vance did a great job on answering the climate change issues, and all Republicans should be writing down his answers and utilizing it, because it gave a very sensible approach, yes, to climate change. Because what he said was, okay, let's talk about climate change. Why do we not trust the United States and our ability to produce cleaner energy through oil excavation, natural gas, and gas excavation? We have the most strictest regulations on our energy. Why would we go to Venezuela, who does not have restrictions on that? It's not clean energy. It is there. Why are we buying it from Iran, who is a terrorist organization loving country and a terrorist? Why not use our clean energy and ensure that the what we are producing is clean and better for the environment? Also, if you look, take an instance at phosphate mining. Once they are done mining it, they replace, not only do they clear out and replace the land, they count for every tree that has been taken out, they plant for the same number. One area of a critique, though, for both of the candidates was the economic positions. Both seemed to believe that tariffs and domestic manufacturing were key drivers of prosperity, with Vance arguing that these policies boosted the Trump economy. However, their perspective ignored the significant role that tax reform and deregulation played in economic growth. And Waltz's focus on government investment as a solution is the typical progressive way, which is, pump more money, let's just pump more money to the people, utilize the government. Hello, we're getting close to not being able to pay the interest rate on the debt. It does not talk about bringing in the money. And Vance also missed out on a key point. Rather than, yes, he didn't say anything about whether Trump lost the 2020. He avoided it and he skirted. He goes, I'm not focusing on the past, I'm focusing on the future. But then he said, there is a more bigger threat to democracy, which is the censorship that Harris has been stating. She is all for regulating like social media accounts, more specifically X. But he could have said a bigger threat to democracy would be the fact that Biden and Kamala Harris have both stated that they want to pack the court or eliminate and put term limits on our Supreme Court. They want more controls over the Supreme Court, which, by the way, is an equal branch of the government. But that was Biden. Biden saying we need to be doing more controls on them. That is a bigger threat to our democracy. And in other news, because I just want to bring out a shout out to Melania Trump. Not many people shout out to her, but she came out. She has a new book coming out. But one thing is for certain, and I watched this video and I watched her interview. Melania Trump, former First Lady and potentially next First Lady, expressed her firm stance on women's rights to individual freedom, aligning her message with support for the right to choose. Her comments followed an excerpt from her upcoming memoir, whether she further elaborated on her views supporting a woman's authority to terminate pregnancy. This statement is contrast to her husband, President Trump, who is credited for helping overturn Roe v. Wade. And this video and book release come at a crucial time as Mr. Trump faces political pressure over his stance on abortion. Now, Trump did say he would veto an abortion ban, although that's highly doubt that would ever pass. Just like enacting Roe v. Wade through Congress is a far stretch. But you know what? I do love this, and I applaud Melania Trump for standing up and saying we should have the right to choice. It is a choice to keep a pregnancy. It is a choice to abort it. I personally am pro-choice. I do believe that there needs to be some consensus as to, hey, why not allow it up to a certain point willy-nilly, and then afterwards to save the life of the woman. And even that was Melania. And Melania reminds me very much of Barbara Bush, the first Barbara Bush, H.W. Bush's wife, when she stated that abortion should not even be on the political stage because the right for a woman to have autonomy over her body is not a political discussion. Women should have equal rights and protection just as men do. So thank you, Melania Trump. I appreciate you stating this publicly. I am Alina Gonzalez-Dockery. Thank you for joining me on this somewhat fiery episode of Purple Politics. Please stay safe and reach out to your fellow citizens and wish them well. And we will see you in our next episode. Good night and have a great weekend.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.
Artritis, inflamación, reuma, dolores articulares, dolores musculares, dolores, muchos dolores, una solución. Be Miracle, el milagro de vivir sin dolor. Hace más de 2400 años, los griegos descubrieron los poderes desinflamatorios de la apitoxina, el veneno de las abejas, que es 100 veces más poderosa que la cortisona, pero sin sus efectos secundarios. Be Miracle, la fórmula original con apitoxina 100% natural, el milagro de vivir sin dolor.
Yo me acostumbré a vivir con dolor y con alta presión. Fue como un milagro. Empecé a tomar la capsulita de veneno de abejas y se me calmó el dolor. Mi presión está normal y hasta el carácter me cambió.
A nosotros nos gustaba pasear, caminar, bailar, ir a la discoteca, pero nos llegó la artritis y nos lo arruinó todo. Y ahora, tomando una capsulita diaria del veneno de la abeja, volvemos a disfrutar de la vida.
Y gracias a este milagro podemos ser felices.
B-Miracle frena la artrosis, rejuvenece las articulaciones, desinflama y elimina el dolor. Ya basta de dolores musculares, ya basta de dolores articulares, ya basta de sufrir.
Con una cápsula diaria del veneno de abejas, volví a vivir sin dolores.
B-Miracle. Llame ahora y reciba 2 meses de B-Miracle en oferta especial. Ordena 2 y recibe 3 meses de tratamiento. Pero si llama ahora mismo con su orden, recibirá la crema B-Miracle de acción inmediata completamente gratis. Para ese dolor rebelde y localizado que a veces aparece. Pero tiene que marcar ahora. B-Miracle. Una cápsula por día. El milagro de vivir sin dolor toda la vida.
Investing in real estate doesn't have to be a pipe dream. But how do you find, analyze, renovate, finance investment properties without getting ripped off? My name's Andrew Glisson. In 4 short years, me and my team built a portfolio of 200 rental properties in multiple cities as a hobby while working full-time. We took all of that experience and built a mentorship program called the Victory Strategy to unlock every step of investing in real estate. If that sounds like the opportunity you've been waiting for, look us up at thevictorystrategy.com.